Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much. Why do so many people try to fix everything around them, except themselves? What if the real breakthrough you've been waiting for begins with a hard look in the mirror? And how much longer can you afford to wait before the cost of doing nothing becomes too high? Most people spend their entire lives trying to change the world around them, not realizing that the most important change needs to happen within. They want to change their circumstances, their boss, their spouse, their kids, the weather, even the government. They pour their energy into fixing everything, except the one thing that matters most: the person staring back at them in the mirror. But here's what I've learned through decades of studying success and human potential. Lasting transformation doesn't start with your environment. It starts with you. The real power lies in self-awareness and personal responsibility. Now let me ask you something and be honest with yourself. How long have you been avoiding that inner conversation? How long have you been dodging the truth about where you are compared to where you know you could be? How long have you been saying someday instead of saying today? Because here's the reality: time doesn't wait. It moves forward with or without your permission. While you're second-guessing, while you're procrastinating, while you're waiting for the perfect timing or ideal conditions, life continues on. And the longer you postpone that internal reset, the more expensive it becomes, not just financially, but emotionally, relationally, and mentally. Think about it like this. Imagine a small leak in your roof. At first, it seems like no big deal, but you ignore it for a while. Weeks go by, then months. Eventually, that tiny leak turns into structural damage, then mold, then thousands of dollars in repairs. All because the problem wasn't dealt with when it was manageable. The same principle applies to your personal life. Whether it's your relationships, your health, your finances, or your career, small problems that go ignored quietly grow. They fester, and if left unchecked long enough, they spiral into major issues. Eventually, they can wipe out years, even decades, of progress, often in just a matter of months. I remember being 25 years old, flat broke, frustrated, and full of excuses. I had a long list of reasons why my life wasn't working. I blamed the government. I blamed the economy. I blamed my boss. I blamed bad luck, bad timing, everything and everyone except the one person truly responsible, me. And something happened that changed the course of my life forever. I met a mentor, and he told me something so simple, yet so powerful, that it cut right through all my excuses. He looked me in the eye and said, "Jim, for things to change, you've got to change. For things to get better, you got to get better. For things to improve, you've got to improve. When you change, everything changes for you." That moment marked the beginning of my real education, not in school, but in personal development. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy. It was uncomfortable, because fixing yourself means facing the hard truth: you've been part of the problem. It means accepting full responsibility for your life. It means taking a close, honest look at your daily habits, your mindset, your social circle, your routines, and realizing that if your life is going to look different, you must become different. Now, maybe you're thinking, "But Jim, you don't know what I've been through. You don't understand my struggles." And you're right. I don't know your exact situation. I don't know the pain you've carried or the setbacks you've faced. But here's what I do know. Everyone has challenges. Everyone has obstacles. Everyone experiences setbacks. The difference between people who move forward and those who stay stuck isn't the absence of difficulty. It's how they respond to it. Life, in many ways, is like the seasons. We all go through winters. Cold, harsh, difficult seasons when nothing seems to work, when everything feels like it's falling apart. But winter doesn't last forever. Spring always comes. The real question is, what are you doing during your winter to prepare for your spring? Are you using this time to reflect, to grow, to build strength and resilience? Or are you wasting it, stuck in negativity, complaining about how cold it is, and waiting for someone else to fix it? If you want your life to truly change, there are fundamental areas you must work on, starting from the inside out. The first area you must work on, the foundation of all change, is your philosophy. What is philosophy, really? It's the way you think about life. It's the lens through which you interpret events. It's how you see yourself, your potential, and the world around you. And if that lens is distorted, if your philosophy is flawed, then everything else in your life will be affected. Think about it. If you believe life is supposed to be easy, you'll be blindsided by every challenge. If you expect success to come without effort, you'll quit the moment you hit resistance. If you think someone else is responsible for your happiness, you'll spend your life chasing approval and living in disappointment. Your philosophy shapes your thoughts. Your thoughts shape your words. Your words become your actions. And your actions, over time, determine your results. So if you don't like the results you're getting, don't just look at your habits. Trace them all the way back to your mindset. Because behavior is the fruit, but philosophy is the root. Fix the way you think, and your life will begin to align. The second area you must fix is your attitude. And let me be clear, attitude is everything. I've seen incredibly talented people fail because of a bad attitude. I've also seen people with average skills and education succeed beyond expectations, simply because their attitude lifted them higher than their limitations ever could. Your attitude determines your altitude. It sets the ceiling on how far you'll rise, how much you'll grow, and what you'll ultimately achieve. But here's the key. Attitude is not inherited. It's not fixed. It's a choice, one you make every single day. When you wake up in the morning, before anything happens, you have the power to choose how you're going to show up. You can choose to be grateful or bitter, hopeful or hopeless, inspired or discouraged. That choice is always in your hands. Most people let their circumstances dictate their attitude. If things go well, they're upbeat. If things go wrong, they spiral. But the people who succeed in life, they reverse that equation. They choose their attitude first and let that attitude shape how they handle their circumstances. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. Early in my journey, I let my bank account determine my mood. When I had money, I felt confident. When I was broke, I felt defeated. But one day it hit me. Maybe it wasn't my bank account shaping my attitude. Maybe my attitude was shaping my bank account. And that's exactly what happened. When I shifted my mindset from scarcity to gratitude, from resentment to appreciation, opportunities started to appear. When I stopped complaining about what I lacked and started celebrating what I had, doors began opening. When I chose to become excited about the future instead of bitter about the past, people started noticing and wanted to work with me. Now, that leads us to the third essential area you must fix: your activities. What you do on a daily basis determines who you become. It's not your intentions, not your wishes, not even your goals that shape your future. It's your daily actions. If you keep repeating the same routines, making the same choices, and engaging in the same behaviors, you will keep getting the same results. It's simple, but powerful. For your life to change, the daily activities must change. You can't continue down the same path and expect to end up somewhere new. Yet most people fall into the trap of spending their time on what I call minor things. They stay busy, but not productive. They confuse motion with progress. They fill their days with distractions that feel urgent, but don't actually matter. They scroll endlessly through social media. They spend hours watching television that adds nothing to their growth. They waste energy on shallow conversations, negative gossip, and pointless arguments. They're exhausted from all their activity, but have little to show for it. Why? Because they're majoring in the minors, focusing on tasks that don't move them toward their goals, don't sharpen their skills, and don't increase their value. Successful people do the opposite. They prioritize what truly matters. They read books that expand their thinking. They listen to podcasts or audio programs that teach them something useful. They limit exposure to toxic media and instead feed their minds with insight, vision, and hope. They choose to spend time with people who challenge and uplift them, not those who drain their energy. And most importantly, they work on themselves more than they work on anything else. Now let's talk about a crucial factor that shapes your daily experience more than most people realize: your associations. This might be one of the most important areas where you need to reset, because the people you spend the most time with, they're influencing you more than you think. If you surround yourself with people who constantly complain, you'll soon find yourself doing the same. If you hang around people who make excuses, you'll start justifying your lack of progress. If your inner circle is filled with people who think small, your vision will begin to shrink to match theirs. But there's a powerful flip side to this. If you start surrounding yourself with people who are positive, who are working on themselves, who dream big and act boldly, you'll begin to elevate naturally. Their energy, their ambition, their habits will begin to shape yours in a powerful way. Now, I get it. This isn't always easy. Sometimes the people holding us back are the ones we've known the longest. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's old friends. And sometimes their resistance isn't out of malice. It's fear. Your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. Your desire for change makes them uncomfortable with where they are. But if you want to rise, you have to be willing to make hard choices about who gets access to your attention and influence. Sometimes the people closest to us prefer us to stay the same. Not because they don't care, but because it makes them feel more comfortable about not changing themselves. When you begin to grow, it highlights their lack of growth. When you reach for more, it reminds them they've been settling. And without realizing it, they may start to resist your progress. But here's something you must understand clearly. You cannot let other people's comfort zones define your potential. Just because someone else is content staying still doesn't mean you have to be. Growth often requires distance, emotional, mental, and sometimes physical, from people who unconsciously hold you back. Now, this doesn't mean you need to cut people out of your life harshly or act superior. It's not about being rude, but it does mean you might need to adjust how much time you spend with certain people, and be more intentional about spending time with others who support your growth. That might mean finding new associations, joining different groups, showing up at events or environments where people are focused on growth and progress. Surround yourself with those who are going where you want to go, because their energy will influence you more than you realize. Another critical area where you must begin fixing yourself is in your learning. Most people treat learning as something that ends once they leave school. But in reality, that's when it should begin. The world is evolving faster than ever. If you're not learning, you're not standing still, you're falling behind. Technology is shifting rapidly. Industries are being redefined. New opportunities are emerging every day. And if you're not consistently educating yourself, you'll miss them. Not because you're not capable, but because you're not prepared. Formal education may earn you a living, but self-education, what you choose to learn after school, is what can earn you freedom, options, and a future far beyond the average. The books you read, the podcasts you listen to, the seminars you attend, the online courses you enroll in, the mentors you seek. These choices shape your future far more than your past ever could. You must commit to becoming a student for life. Not just for 12 years, not just through college, but for as long as you want to grow. And here's something most people don't fully grasp. Learning isn't just about absorbing information. It's about transformation. Every book you finish rewires part of how you think. Every new skill you master shifts your confidence. Every mentor who teaches you something meaningful leaves a mark. When you apply what you learn, you don't just add knowledge. You become someone new. So the real question becomes, are you learning in the direction of the person you want to become? And that brings us to one of the most important areas you must work on, perhaps the most important of all: discipline. Discipline is the bridge, the one that connects thought to accomplishment, inspiration to achievement, and potential to productivity. Without it, everything else falls apart. All your good intentions, all your inspiring ideas, and all your heartfelt dreams remain just that: unrealized potential. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's about forcing yourself to do things you hate. They associate it with restriction, pressure, even punishment. But that's a shallow view. Real discipline, the kind that transforms lives, is much deeper than brute force. At its highest level, discipline is doing the right thing at the right time, even when you don't feel like it. It's making a decision and then honoring it. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's inconvenient. It's about showing up for yourself, keeping the promises you make to yourself, following through not just when someone else is watching, but when it's just you and your future on the line. Because let's be honest, if you can't rely on yourself, how can anyone else? The disciplined person lives differently. They wake up early while others hit snooze. They go to the gym while others reach for excuses. They save and invest while others spend recklessly. They prioritize learning and growth while others chase mindless entertainment. And what do all these small daily choices lead to? The freedom to live without regret. The freedom to pursue opportunities. The freedom to build a life on their terms. Because discipline, though it may feel difficult in the moment, pays off in ways the undisciplined will never fully understand. It's not about restriction, it's about access. Access to a better version of yourself. And here's the encouraging part. Discipline is a skill, not a trait. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build. Each time you choose what's hard over what's easy, you strengthen that muscle. Each time you follow through instead of giving up, the path becomes easier to walk the next time. It may be uncomfortable at first, but over time, consistency turns struggle into second nature. Each time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you're not just checking off a task. You're building something powerful: self-trust and self-confidence. And those two things, they're the foundation of lasting change. Now, let's talk about a concept that stops more people than anything else: personal responsibility. It's a term that can feel heavy, even intimidating. But at its core, personal responsibility simply means this: you are the primary creative force in your own life. You're responsible for your decisions, your reactions, your mindset, your behavior, and ultimately, your outcomes. Of course, that doesn't mean you control everything. Life throws curveballs. Challenges come unexpectedly. But here's the distinction. You might not be responsible for what happens to you, but you're 100% responsible for how you respond. This isn't about blaming yourself or feeling guilty. It's about owning your power. When you take full responsibility, you take back control. You reclaim the ability to change your situation, to shift direction, and to write a better story. But the moment you start blaming other people or your past or the economy, you hand over your power. And here's the truth. Victims don't change things. Creators do. Power doesn't live in excuses. It lives in ownership. That's why fixing yourself is so essential. Because as long as you believe the problem is somewhere out there, you'll keep searching for solutions in all the wrong places. But the moment you recognize that the change starts within you, you unlock the most powerful tool you have, yourself. And that brings us to goals. You can't transform yourself without a target. You need a clear, compelling vision of who you want to become. Goals aren't just about what you want to get or accomplish. They're about the person you must become in order to achieve them. A real goal stretches you. It challenges your habits, your mindset, your effort. It demands more from you. And in return, it grows you. Most people don't set real goals. They carry around vague wishes. They say things like, I want to be successful, or I hope I'll get in shape. But those aren't goals. They're dreams without direction. A wish is passive. A goal is intentional. A wish relies on hope. A goal relies on discipline and action. When you commit to a goal, you commit to becoming the version of yourself who can earn it. And that version of you, disciplined, focused, responsible, is exactly who you need to become to change your life. And that's where the real treasure lies, not in the goal itself, but in the transformation that happens along the way. The person you become in pursuit of the goal is the real reward. But there's something critical you must understand. The goals you chase must be your own, not goals handed to you by others, not goals shaped by pressure or expectation. Too many people go through life trying to meet someone else's vision. Parents have their dreams. A partner might have certain hopes. Society, of course, has a long list of what you should want. But here's the truth. You're the one who has to live your life, not them. If you're climbing a mountain, make sure it's a mountain you actually want to be on. Now, let's talk about what actually determines your direction day by day. Your habits. Ultimately, fixing yourself boils down to transforming your habits. Because your life today is largely a reflection of the habits you've built over time. You've developed patterns, ways of thinking, speaking, reacting, behaving that shape your outcomes. Some of these habits are helping you move forward. Others are silently holding you back. So how do you change your life? You start by identifying the habits that no longer serve you, and you replace them. You don't just break bad habits, you build better ones. Here's what most people get wrong. They think willpower is enough. They think they can just stop doing something. But habits don't disappear. They must be replaced. You can't just stop watching endless TV. You need to fill that time with something better. Maybe reading, maybe exercising, maybe developing a new skill that excites you. If your mind is filled with negative thoughts, don't just try to block them. You have to intentionally feed your mind with positive, empowering ideas. Because the mind, just like nature, abhors a vacuum. If you don't fill the space, something else, usually unhelpful, will take its place. Changing habits isn't easy. Your current routines have momentum. They've been reinforced over years, even decades. That's why so many people start strong and give up early. They're not weak. They're just missing the system, the structure, and the patience required for real change. So ask yourself, what's one habit I need to release? And what's one new habit I can begin today that will move me toward the life I truly want? If you don't make a conscious decision about what to fill that empty space with, rest assured, something else will take over. And usually, it won't be something that serves your growth. That's why one of the most effective ways to change your habits is to start small and remain consistent. Don't overwhelm yourself trying to overhaul everything at once. That's one of the fastest ways to burn out and give up. Instead, choose just one habit to focus on. Commit to it daily until it becomes second nature. Then, and only then, move on to the next. It's far better to take small, intentional steps every day than to make big, dramatic changes once in a while. Consistency compounds. Little improvements done daily become life-changing transformations over time. Now, let's talk about something that holds many people back: the fear of change. Even when someone knows deep down that they need to fix themselves, fear often stops them before they even begin. Why? Because change is uncomfortable. It's unpredictable. It threatens the familiar, even when the familiar isn't working. People fear failure. They fear being judged. They fear losing the comfort they've become used to, even if that comfort comes with dissatisfaction. But here's something you must truly understand. Until the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing, you won't change. And right now, you might be comfortable, but are you truly happy? There's a difference between comfort and joy. You can be comfortable and still be deeply unfulfilled. Comfort feels safe, but growth requires discomfort. Progress demands that you step outside the known and stretch yourself into something greater. And here's the ironic truth. Comfort zones aren't actually that comfortable. When you're not growing, not learning, not evolving, you feel it. A subtle, nagging voice within starts whispering, reminding you that you were built for more. You might try to silence it with distractions, entertainment, overworking, even unhealthy habits, but that voice never fully disappears. Why? Because deep down, your soul knows you're not living your full potential. That's why I want to talk to you about time. Time is your most valuable, non-renewable resource. You can always earn back lost money, but lost time? That's gone forever. Every person, regardless of background, wealth, or status, gets the same 24 hours in a day. The question is, how do you spend yours? Successful people treat time like a precious currency. They invest it carefully. They don't waste hours on meaningless tasks, empty distractions, or activities that don't push them closer to their goals. They understand that how you spend your time is how you build your life. So if you're serious about fixing yourself, start by looking at where your time is going. Are your daily hours reflecting the future you want? Or are they feeding the cycle you're trying to escape? They don't waste countless hours complaining about their problems. They invest their time solving them. They don't hang around people who drain their energy. They choose to spend time with those who uplift, inspire, and challenge them to grow. But here's something most people never fully understand about time. It's not about having time. It's about making time. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. The difference lies in priorities. Some people make time for what truly matters. Others make excuses for why they don't. You see, time management is really value management. If you value entertainment over education, you'll always find time for television, but never for reading. If you value comfort more than personal growth, you'll carve out time for leisure, but neglect learning and development. So ask yourself, how am I truly investing my time each day? Is the way I spend my hours moving me closer to the person I want to become? Or is it silently pulling me further away? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the beginning of change. Because once you're aware of how your time is being spent, you also become aware of what needs to shift. Now, let's talk about an area that many people overlook when trying to fix themselves, your physical health. You cannot reach your full potential if your body is falling apart. Your body is the vehicle that carries your goals, your ideas, your dreams, everything you're capable of achieving. If you don't take care of it, it will break down. And when it does, every other area of your life begins to suffer. Think about it. Most people are more diligent about maintaining their cars than their bodies. They change their oil every few thousand miles, but won't reconsider their diet. They regularly clean and polish their car's exterior, but can't commit to regular exercise. They're picky about the type of fuel they put in the gas tank, yet eat whatever's convenient without a second thought. But your health affects everything. Your energy levels, mental sharpness, emotional balance, daily productivity, and even your longevity and overall quality of life. You simply cannot separate physical wellness from success in the rest of your life. When you feel strong physically, your thoughts are clearer, your mood improves, your motivation grows, and your presence becomes more magnetic. You're more likely to take bold action, stay consistent, and bounce back quickly from setbacks. But let's be real, building great health doesn't happen by accident. It takes discipline, commitment, and a willingness to do what others won't. So the question is, are you treating your body like the priceless asset it truly is? Taking care of your health requires making choices that aren't always easy or convenient. It means lacing up your shoes and heading out for that workout when you'd much rather relax on the couch. It means choosing the nourishing meal when you're tempted by junk food. It means turning off the screen and getting proper sleep, even when you feel like staying up late scrolling or binge watching. But over time, these small, consistent choices pay massive dividends, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Now, let's shift to another critical area where many people struggle: money. Financial literacy is one of the most overlooked areas of personal development. And while money may not be the most important thing in life, It undeniably affects nearly every part of your life. Your relationship with money impacts your relationships with people, the career paths you choose, the lifestyle you lead, the stress you carry, and even your ability to give to those in need. Here's the problem. Most people are financially confused. They want more money, but they don't truly understand how to earn it sustainably, or how to keep it once they have it. They work hard for money, yet never learn how to make money work hard for them. They're skilled at spending, but not at investing. They know how to consume, but they don't know how to build wealth. So where do you begin if you want to fix your financial life? The first step is mindset. Understand this. Money is a tool, not the goal. It's a resource that should serve your life, not run it. The goal isn't just to have money. The real goal is to use money wisely, to design the life you envision, and to make a positive impact on others. The second step is to grasp the difference between earning money and building wealth. Earning money is what happens when you trade your time and labor for income. It's important, but it's only the starting point. True wealth comes when you begin to create systems that generate income even when you're not actively working. Investments, businesses, and income-generating assets. But before you can grow your wealth, you must first manage your money well. That means learning to live below your means, consistently saving a portion of every dollar you earn, avoiding unnecessary debt, and committing to investing with discipline over the long term. These aren't just financial tips. They are transformational principles. They shift your role from being controlled by money to being in control of your financial future. These are foundational financial disciplines, simple in theory, but surprisingly uncommon in practice. Many people go through life never truly mastering them. But let's pivot now to something just as important: relationships. Because no matter how strong or successful you become, the journey of personal growth is never meant to be a solo climb. True success is deeply intertwined with the quality of your relationships. Think about it. Your life is shaped not only by what you do, but by who you share it with. Your connection with your spouse, your children, your family, your friends, your coworkers, your clients, and your community plays a defining role in the richness of your experience. But here's the key. Every one of those relationships is a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. If you struggle to respect yourself, how can you expect others to treat you with respect? If you don't like who you are, how can you show up fully in a relationship? If you don't trust yourself to follow through, how can you build trust with anyone else? You can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't give love, trust, or respect to others if you haven't first cultivated those qualities within yourself. Fixing yourself also means learning how to navigate human connection with intention and grace. That includes learning to communicate clearly and honestly, to listen deeply without judgment, to resolve conflicts without damaging relationships, to give praise and receive feedback, and most importantly, to build and maintain trust. These are just soft skills, they're life skills, and they can absolutely be developed with practice and persistence. But here's something that often gets overlooked. Relationships thrive not when you focus on what you're getting, but on what you're giving. If you want loyal, kind, uplifting friends, ask yourself, are you showing up that way first? If you desire love, are you being loving? If you wish others cared more about you, are you genuinely interested in them? This is the law of reciprocity in action. What you send out into the world comes back to you. Not always immediately, and not always in the way you expect. But over time, the energy and effort you invest in others will return in some form. Now let's shift to something deeper: contribution. Because fixing yourself is not just about leveling up your own life. It's about expanding your capacity to uplift others. The highest levels of meaning, fulfillment, and joy are found not in accumulation, but in contribution. When you work on yourself, when you sharpen your skills, strengthen your character, expand your knowledge, you don't just improve your own outcomes. You expand your ability to serve, lead, and support those around you. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect of transformation that goes far beyond yourself. You become more valuable to your employer, more supportive to your loved ones, more impactful in your community, and more capable of creating real, lasting change in the world. But here's something you must always remember. True contribution comes from abundance, not from lack. You cannot give your best to others if you're running on empty. That's why the foundation of any meaningful contribution is self-work. You have to fix yourself first. You must fill your own cup before you can pour into anyone else's. It's not selfish, it's essential. When you're strong mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, you become a source of strength for others. When you're whole, you help others heal. When you're filled with purpose and clarity, you can inspire others to find their own path. Look at the people who've had the greatest impact on humanity. Those who've uplifted lives, sparked movements, changed the course of history. Every one of them started with themselves. They did the inner work. They developed their gifts, strengthened their character, acquired wisdom through trial and error, and built the emotional resilience required to face criticism, failure, and responsibility. Their influence didn't come from luck. It came from preparation. Now, let's talk about something urgent, the timing. If you're waiting for the right moment to begin working on yourself, you're already running late. Tomorrow is not promised. And while it's easy to believe that you've got plenty of time to improve, grow, or become who you're meant to be, life often reminds us just how uncertain time really is. Even if you live to be 100, waiting to change is costly. Every day that you delay is a day you can never get back. A lost opportunity to learn, to grow, to take action. What's worse, the longer you postpone change, the harder it becomes. Habits don't weaken over time, they strengthen. Skills don't become easier to learn, they become more difficult. And relationships? Some may not be there when you finally decide you're ready. There's also the power of compounding. You've heard of compound interest in finance. How small investments made consistently can grow into something massive over time. Well, the same applies to personal growth. Tiny, positive actions repeated daily can lead to extraordinary transformation. But the opposite is also true. Small bad habits, small neglects, when left unchecked, can compound into major life problems. The earlier you begin, the more leverage time gives you. And finally, here's something that might just light a fire under you. The people around you, your partner, your kids, your friends, your team, they're quietly waiting. They're hoping you'll step up, hoping you'll become the version of yourself that they, and you, know you're capable of being. So what are you waiting for? Your children are watching you closely. They're not just listening to what you say, they're absorbing everything you do. They're learning how to live, how to respond to challenges, and how to handle setbacks, all by observing your example. Your spouse? They're hoping you'll become the supportive, strong, and emotionally intelligent partner they need. And the people you lead, your employees, colleagues, or even your friends, are silently waiting for the leadership only you can provide. Your community? It's longing for the contribution only you can make if you begin operating at your full capacity. You see, your personal growth isn't just about you. You carry a responsibility, not only to yourself, but to everyone who is influenced by your presence. When you choose not to grow, you're not just limiting your own potential. You're also limiting your ability to uplift those around you. The price of staying stagnant isn't just paid by you. It's paid by everyone you care about. But let's talk about the payoff. Let's talk about what you gain when you fix yourself. Because yes, the process can be difficult, uncomfortable, and demanding, but the rewards on the other side are worth every bit of effort. First, you gain authentic self-confidence. Not the kind that's loud and boastful, but the quiet, steady confidence that comes from knowing who you are and what you're capable of. You stop seeking constant validation from others. You stop relying on praise to feel worthy. Why? Because your actions begin to speak for you. your consistency begins to build proof, and your results begin to reinforce your belief in yourself. Second, you gain resilience. Challenges won't disappear, but your response to them will completely change. Life might knock you down, but it won't keep you down, because now you've built the mental and emotional tools to rise, to recover, and to grow stronger from each setback. Your bounce back time shrinks because your inner strength expands. Third, you start attracting better opportunities. It's not magic, it's momentum. As you improve yourself, you naturally become more valuable. And people, jobs, clients, and connections are drawn to value. The job offers become more aligned. The business doors open more easily. The relationships you attract are deeper and more meaningful. When you show up better, life responds in kind. And finally, perhaps the most priceless reward, you experience more joy, more meaning, and more fulfillment. Because nothing compares to the feeling of growing, of knowing that you're making progress, becoming more, stepping into the life you were meant to live. When every day brings you closer to your potential, that's where real satisfaction lives. There's a deep, inner satisfaction that no amount of external success can ever truly match. It's the quiet confidence you carry when you know, deep down, that you're making progress. You'll sleep better at night, not because everything is perfect, but because you're moving in the right direction. You're building something meaningful. You're becoming someone you're proud of. And there's more. You begin to impact others in ways you may not even realize. Your personal growth becomes contagious. Your children look at you differently, with pride in their eyes. Your spouse sees the effort, the integrity, the consistency, and that builds deeper respect. Your colleagues notice the shift in your mindset, and they start turning to you for leadership, guidance, and strength. You become a living example of what's possible, a source of positive influence in your community. But perhaps the most powerful reward of all is this. You'll know you gave your best. You didn't waste your potential. You didn't let your fears win. You didn't bury your talents. You chose to rise, to grow, and to become the person you were truly meant to be. And when the final chapter of your life is written, you won't be haunted by what ifs or should haves. Instead, you'll rest easy knowing you did the work. So let me leave you with this one final truth. The decision to fix yourself is the single most important decision you will ever make. It's more important than choosing your job, your spouse, or your zip code. Why? Because who you become shapes every other choice in your life. It influences your career, your relationships, your health, your finances, and your legacy. Everything starts with you. The time is now, not tomorrow. Not next Monday, not when things settle down. Right now, while you still have the time, the energy, and the chance to change your direction. Because the longer you wait, the harder it gets, and the more it costs you. So start small. Pick just one thing. Maybe it's a new habit you want to build, or a bad habit you're finally ready to break. Maybe it's a book you've been meaning to read, or a skill you've been putting off learning. Maybe it's reaching out to someone and healing a broken relationship, or finally taking that first step toward a goal that matters to you. You don't have to change everything overnight. Just change one thing today, then another tomorrow. That's how momentum begins, and that's how transformation happens. Wishing you strength, health, and happiness on your journey. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more empowering content. You got this.